Tamworth continues to make national headlines over its decision to reject a Sudanese refugee resettlement program.
Been branded everything from racists to rednecks. Tamworth Regional Council's decision to reject a federal government program to settle 5 Sudanese families a year in Tamworth has sparked national outrage.
It's not just Tamworth's reputation that's taken a battering over Council's refusal to welcome refugees. For one refugee, it's time to rethink his decision to call the town home.
Dictor Mallet came to Tamworth for a better life. He's been here now for almost 18 months. It's the place where he planned to spend the rest of his life, but now it's unlikely he'll stay.
But now, this situation is now forcing me to leave the Tamworth. I might leave soon.
It's been a tough couple of days. He's saddened at the comments made last week about Sudanese people.
People are not in war. We are in peace now in Australia.
It was nothing short of an uproar. Tamworth's refugee debate polarising the community.
A very tough time for the city, and a lot of people were concerned and unhappy and uncomfortable with the situation we as a city found ourselves in.
I was out of the country. I arrived back on a Saturday night, mid-June, and Barbara said, there's a big meeting about refugees at the community centre. I said, no, I shouldn't go because I've done it for years and years. But I left my food on the table and went down.
A Tamworth Regional Council meeting has never been so popular. The 200-strong gathering divided about what Tamworth's stance should be on resettling refugees.
It was written in the newspapers as the most ugly meeting ever known to be held in our town. The language was unbelievable. I stood at the back listening to everybody talking across. I suddenly waited for a while. They were going nowhere. I just said, put my hand, Mr. Mayor, could I speak? He said, of course you can, Eddie. I said, we've been settling families for nearly 20 years. Why didn't you ask us to talk this thing through? Anyway, I said, isn't it true that any human being in Australia, any group of people, councils, clubs, churches, can nominate people from overseas to settle? He turned around, he looked at the immigration man or woman, and he asked a question. He said, of course I could. So I said, what's the kerfuffle over? I could bring 10 families in. Someone else could bring 2. What's the matter? Anyway, it went on, and it got uglier and uglier, and they couldn't know what to do. Then on the 17th of January 2007, they had to make a decision.
And when I look at that significant time in January 2007, when there was a big public meeting with the council to try and stand up for the migrants, it coincided with a time when all the Whithams came together. His dad was dying at the age of 90.
And Eddie was going down there was late night council meetings and so on. And I think at the time I met some of the Sudanese families that were there at Eddie's place. There was a lot of activity going on. And I think obviously a lot of stress.
A high-level delegation from the Department of Immigration flew in today for talks.
Amanda Vanstone was the minister at the time, and Eddie got her involved. And in this house here, there was a big meeting.
And I'm confident that when we have discussions with them, we'll find a package that suits Tamworth.
I had a group of people in my house, about 50. We had a meeting, we said, we're going to send 6 people to talk for, and I'm not going to speak at all because I've done all the talk.
Last night, councillors faced up to a packed public gallery.
When we arrived at the meeting, it spilled out over top of Ray Walsh's house, down the road, on out into the street. There were lights everywhere. Every group of media across the world had sent somebody. I'd never seen it like, it was like a Hollywood show.
Tonight's decision on the refugee resettlement program attracted national attention. Media from across Australia flew in to hear the verdict at council chambers.
The meeting started. People were yelling and jumping up and down. The Mayor outlined what they were thinking, and then he asked for dissenting voices to come forward and talk first. They did what they want to do, and then I'm waiting for him to say, for the other side, they come forward, my men would have went forward. He says, we're not going to have another discussion. We're going to ask Eddie Whitham to stand up and talk. So I walked through, stood there, and I said from my heart what I believe should happen.
Eddie Whitham has been a vocal supporter of the refugees.
I'm not talking about just Sudanese people. I'm talking about anybody in the 200 countries of the world who fall into misfortune through some tragedy.
He's been helping them resettle in Australia for almost 30 years.
I've been working with the refugee resettlement in Tamworth for 27 years. And all the issues that I've heard come up, I have found none of them to be valid. That night after everyone disappeared, the council passed a vote to get on with it.
After weeks of controversy, Tamworth Regional Council has reversed its stance on refugees.
For supporters of the refugee program, it's a hard-fought victory after weeks of controversy and national headlines.
Sometimes things go wrong, sometimes they can be corrected. In this case, it has been so.
This is a great step forward, and we're really relieved for our Sudanese brothers.
From the city's mayor, a public apology to those at the centre of the furore.
And I apologise to the Sudanese for the statements and remarks I may have made. You are welcome as members of our community, and we value your ongoing support in this community.
The decision to allow refugees into Tamworth hinged on one crucial factor, that the community provides support to refugee families if government services fall short. Many volunteer groups are stepping up to the plate, in particular the Uniting Care Migrants Resources Tamworth group.
Now, if any job group brings families to this town or people to work in any part of our town, they can contact us and we can walk with them. But in that 7 months, there were some ugly things happen, nasty things happen. I got threatened by the Ku Klux Klan, by people ringing me up from right-wing groups who knew nothing about what we're talking about, people telling me, really calling me horrible names, that I've been threatened and could have been murdered or hanged or whatever over those times. Things were going really bad.
Yeah, it was quite an experience right at that crucial time that Dad was hanging in there.
Then the other side had lots of people who supported me. Well, just before the meeting, I was sitting in a cafe and there was a table of prominent people having their dinner together, and I was sitting talking to a guy, and suddenly these people all stood up, walked over and apologised to me for not supporting me publicly. Pretty amazing, but that's what it was like. People were frightened to speak.
And I don't think that healing process and the recovery could have possibly been, as strong or as well delivered without the support of Eddie Whitham. He really put his shoulder to the wheel and helped guide the city out of that unfortunate incident.
But maybe that was something that had to happen to pave the way for today. Now we've got lots of refugees, migrants of all types, and by our festivals and things the last 11 years, and interaction we've had with the community, we're one of the best communities you can get, and everyone loves it. And they ring me from all over Australia. You're running this thing, can we use your words? You're doing this, can we do that? Can you explain this? That's really brilliant. In 1968, November, Barbara and I were married. 2 weeks after, we drove to Tamworth from Newcastle, decided to stay here. We just had a little minivan and a trailer, nothing else. When we first come to Tamworth, it was what we call a white town. Tamworth was only 16,000 people thereabout, not as big as it is today. It had the basic old shops of insurance companies all down the street, stock and station agents, all that old style stuff.
And Tamworth was small, 10,000 people, but there weren't any migrants. It was Anglo-Saxon, rural.
And then it all changed, 1978.
When I start to think about where we all started with the migrants, I think at the beginning of our marriage, Eddie always had that generous heart, and he did get involved with Lifeline. He became a Lifeline counsellor, and he'd go out for the night shifts, and I would be at home alone with the children. It was hard, and it was very sacrificial for me too, but he's always had a desire to care about others and the community.
1978, Australia decided to take thousands of refugees, which were all massed in huge camps on the Thai border with Laos or Cambodia, that after years of war, the wars in Vietnam went since 1954, and there was just at the stage in 68, 70, it started to calm down, but the people were dispossessed. There's so many of them. So here in Tamworth, we decided, St Vincent de Paul Society decided that they would bring some families, and they contacted me and we talked about this. So I said, I think our church will do the same. So I went to the church. Before long, this is June to October 78, all the main churches in town and us got together and started to bring the Lao. We decided we'd have one type of people. We weren't discriminating. We just felt that if we had two families from that country and they settled for a few weeks and the next families come, they would support each other. And so we finished up settling Lao people.
My parents were refugees from Laos, escaping from the Pol Pot in 78, throughout there, and was in a refuge camp for a few years. Dad was a police officer back in Laos, so having to leave there, if you stayed, you would have died. Mum had escaped with Dad, leaving the rest of her family, which was 13 siblings, and Mum and Dad. So then their boat got bombed on the Mekong River. Okay, so I guess having to swim a fair bit to get to Thailand, eventually got there. We were sponsored by the Uniting Church with Eddie and came out and integrated into Aussie life. Mum did have a child there, which died. And then obviously I was born in Tamworth. So I guess that's a success story there. And then I have a younger sibling, Anna, and she was also born in Tamworth.
So the Lao families started coming when I was quite young, and I do remember spending some time in their home, and also them coming to our place. Sometimes they would come for Christmas or other, just to come and have a meal together or share time together. I remember playing with a lot of the children. So we always had like a spare bedroom, and somebody might stay there for a few months or, you know, that sort of thing. So I remember having a lot of conversations, and Dad was a part of those conversations of, I guess, making my brother and I aware of the world bigger than Tamworth. So it wasn't just about Tamworth and Australia, but there is a bigger world out there.
And I had a lot to learn. As I said, I was very nervous, but we opened up our homes. We didn't have much money. And so our New Year's Eve parties used to be everyone would bring food to share, and we would dance and do everything, because we were connected with other families even in the church that didn't have a lot of money. having that advantage of coming from big families with less means you share what you have.
Eddie and Barbara were very much in our lives. We would see them, I would say, good at least, say, 2 to 4 days a week. Anything that I would need, I would always think to go to Barbara and Eddie's house. You know, so then I knew I was safe. You know, Barbara used to look after us as kids.
And the way we would care for people would be to actually, you know, share everything we had, which we didn't have a lot of things. Material possessions didn't seem to be a priority. So everything we had was, you know, shared with them, or we would find a way to be able to, you know, make that go further, if you like.
We get the first 4 weeks' rent sorted out and pay the bond. And from that point on, they would get social security or a job. A lot of them got jobs quick.
Mum worked at the hospital, so that was good. And then Dad worked with Eddie doing the office furniture and the carpet laying. Dad and Eddie, I remember a lot of laughter, just a lot of laughter. I suppose over the years, you know, and as a child, you're looking at them going, they're like brothers. Uncle Eddie was always there. He's always Uncle Eddie. It's never just Eddie, it's Uncle Eddie. So, yeah, I think he's a lot Uncle Eddie to a lot of people. Yeah.
You know, just to give some background, my parents came here from war-torn Laos, you know, as refugees with nothing, maybe a suitcase, not even, you know, and no money to their name. And they got off the plane with nothing except for me and my brother and their other siblings.
I'm Suwani from Suwani Sayabat. I'm from Laos. I come to Australia because my country got changed the government, like community, and then after that, 1975, like Vietnam War. And that time, we starvation. 1st of January 1981, we escaped from Thailand and from Laos to Thailand. And I got 2 boys in camp. Yeah, and that time is very hard.
I think we arrived here in 1987, late 80s, in a country town with probably a couple of other people with black hair. So we were fortunate enough to get sponsored to come to Australia. I believe in my part that it was heavily influenced by Eddie and the Uniting Church in terms of helping people come to Australia. My mum and dad not really been able to speak a lot of English, like this English is a second language. There was a lot of times where we really relied on Eddie. So whether that was to help with filling out forms, whether that was to help with talking to someone on the phone, we sort of took that role on when we got older, but during that transition time, Eddie would be around. Eddie would help Mum go up to English school. If we didn't know what was going on, Eddie would come and translate. Eddie was always around. He was really like a granddad to us, or to me anyway, and to my siblings.
I reflect on being a mum. So I'm a single parent, and I just think of the life I would have had as a woman in Lao or Asian culture, growing up in a third world country. And I am just so grateful for the opportunities and the life that I have that wouldn't have been possible without Eddie.
I truly believe if it wasn't for Eddie, well, I know if it wasn't for Eddie, I wouldn't be here having this interview with you. My kids, I've met a lovely partner in Australia. I wouldn't have the life that I have, and I wouldn't have the beautiful kids that I have if it wasn't for Eddie. I talk about that all the time with my partner, about how grateful I am that someone across the other side of the world was generous enough to go, oh, let's help someone out that I don't even know in another country that's sleeping in a tent. You know, that's amazing.
Not just him, it's his family as well. They're just all beautiful people, and you know, if you can just take a little bit or half of what that family has and just sprinkle it over the world will be such a better place for it.
Yeah.
He's literally given us life.
Thank Eddie and United Church to help me until now, and we just be like friend or uncle or auntie. And Lao community here expect like respect him very, very much, like big uncle. And yeah.
And we got called Uncle Eddie and Auntie Barbara because they adopted us, and I remember we had a 30-year celebration and a 40-year celebration.
And at this point of time now, there's probably 50 or so Lao people still living here. Their descendants, kids, mums and dads have passed on. You know, they would come out when they were 25 or 30. When you see photos of them, how impoverished the children were, the mothers and fathers. I'm proud of the way they stood up and they're part of our community. They joined to all our functions, and we see them often. I know all the families. In fact, we went to a party the other day, there's 52 of them. There was a 70th birthday for Auntie, who's got Mai Tai food down there, and we went out there. They're all turning up. Uncle, I'm back from Sydney, I'm here. Yeah, they're all there. That was beautiful. Everything went really well, and till we got into the 2000s, and the world changed. After 2007, things settled down in the community, and migrants were coming and going. Hospital was taking in. The abattoirs was developing, both the three food processing places, and they started to bring large numbers. Then I was running around like a hairy goat, doing all the odds and ends for all sorts of people at all sorts of time, including going to the police station unearthly hours a day and night, going to all the things that no one seemed to want to talk about or fix.
He had his finger in everything, as far as I could tell. And that's the mark of the man, you know. He was the allegory of a duck on water just moving slowly, but you don't see the legs paddling underneath, and that's how Eddie sort of worked. He was always doing something under the surface of the water, but it was just serenely floating through life. I never saw him flustered.
Eddie was, you know, I guess we quickly saw eye to eye on a lot of different things, and we were really fortunate that we could both speak the same language on stuff. And not only Eddie not only became a very, very highly regarded and important advisor to me, both officially and unofficially. But also we've become pretty good mates, and I really admire the good work that Eddie's done on behalf of particularly that migrant community.
And in 2012, Tanya Haig, who was employed by the council as a multicultural officer for 3 years, Shalini and Juanita, my daughter, they said, we want a cup of tea down the street, I'll talk to you. Eddie, you can't keep doing this on your own. You're going to die. 2012. And no one will be able to do it. I said, what we do? We have to make an organisation.
So what we said to Eddie was, let's just formalise a group. We can have so many more people that are sharing similar passion, be able to come together, and let's just work as a team now.
So I went home, I thought about it, I was thinking of all sorts of titles. I thought, Multicultural Tamworth sounds good.
So that's when we decided to formalise Multicultural Tamworth.
The original idea of Multicultural Tamworth was obviously to fill a huge gap, because the migrants that we were then getting were starting to come to Tamworth had needs which were not meant by they weren't fitting into a particular box. When you have people coming who have paid all this money to make a new life, and they've got to navigate where to go to get help from a doctor, how to get a job, how do we go about finding housing in a space like this, different to the country we've come from, or even different to the city. So we set about trying to gather that knowledge in one space, and particularly gather the knowledge also of all the different service providers and different organisations that people might need.
Yeah, there are a number of agencies that are directly linked when someone moves to Tamworth from another part of the world, and quite often health is a big issue. So, if a family comes to Tamworth, they've got young ones, or, they need health advice support.
I know Eddie for the past 6 years. I first met Eddie on our Multicultural Access Committee here at Tamworth Hospital, where I am the chair. And Eddie is our consumer representative, and he's been our consumer representative that whole time.
Eddie has been part of the committee since I started on this role. Eddie was offered a pay to be part of the committee through the New South Wales health system. Eddie never took a pay. And I've seen how influential he can be in that committee. He brings in raw data from the community to the hospital system, and we listen to him. New South Wales government has brought in something called a concierge for healthcare workers. That's something that started in 2024. And for me, I know that Eddie has been doing it for 10 years before that. So in Tamworth, Eddie has been the concierge for the doctors, for the nurses who come from migrant communities for ages. Eddie will reach out to the hospital, or the hospital will reach out to Eddie and say, look, we've got this doctor here, we've got this nurse here, they're coming from this and this community. Can you help them connect? And that's where Eddie was most helpful for the hospital.
My name is Larissa. I am from Russia, and I am a doctor. I know from my doctor's colleague in Sydney, what I mentioned, that I am friends for 15 years. They apparently using my example as motivational example to other doctors and other migrants, saying that, look, we have a friend who came to Australia and without any connections, medical connections, no family support, no relatives, no financial support, from zero. And she just became a doctor. And last year I completed my last specialist exam. So there is no more exams in my life. And after 3-4 years of working in a specialist field, I will be fully recognized specialist in Australia, which is recognized all over the world. So they use me now as example of achievement. And I was with a little, son, or single parent as well. So they think, it's unbelievable achievement. But I would not achieve this without Eddie's support and help, but also as a friend and as a adopted, family member and as a manager from that side. So because it was important even, just to get, advice or talk about situation and move on.
We need our doctors to stay. We need our healthcare professionals to stay in Tamworth, in our region, in our community. And Eddie was a key influencing factor in keeping people live in Tamworth and make Tamworth home.
Eddie is really approachable and committed to the migrant community in Tamworth. He's been called on for various situations relating to migrants, be it in situations of tragedy or in situations of need. He's always there for people to try and connect them to where they need to be or get the help they need. He's just an amazing person.
The doctors and the nurses realized there's a need to understand the community and the cultural aspects of this multicultural community in Tamworth. We reached out to Eddie, and through Eddie, we were able to reach out to a lot of community organizations. We reached out to the Filipino organization. We reached out to the Indian, South Indian community. We reached out to the Sikh. We reached out to the Muslim community. We reached out to the Christian community, the Orthodox community. So we were able to bring in a lot of religious leaders, a lot of key community influential personalities onto a table at the hospital. We sat down with the community and Eddie as well. We listened to them, understanding what does their community look like? What are the needs of the community when accessing healthcare system, especially in palliative care? And those work that we've done with Eddie is so valuable. And across the district, across the Hunter New England district, across the New South Wales state, people are trying to replicate it because that's never happened. That's not something that happens every day.
Things can happen. I've had people on the hospital rings, a man's going to kill himself, what are we going to do? I'm coming. I get up there, find the guy, find the hospital set up, sit down with the man, his wife and kids. I say, what's the problem? He tells me his problem. Everyone's watching, listening, but no one's doing anything. I said to the guy, look, it's Friday night of a long weekend. We can't do much till Monday, Tuesday. How about you all go home? I'll ring you every morning at 7 o'clock. On Tuesday morning, I get a lawyer for you. But while I was sitting watching him, I saw his wife not speaking, his kids just sitting there. I found out that they didn't go to school, the wife doesn't learn English. So by Tuesday, Wednesday, she's learning English, the kids are at school. And he's got a full-time job in the government now. It was a matter of just saying, the guy had a problem, he had nowhere to look at it, his language wasn't the best English, and his problem was between him and his own country, his own problem. So we helped sort that through. That's all he wanted. This goes on all the time. We've had road accidents where 3 people were killed, young Indonesians. We helped that families get the bodies back to Indonesia, helped them sort through all the things, met with the families. We've had young Indian men pass away. We've helped those Indian families get sorted through.
And one of those instances is during the COVID time again. There was a community member, who I don't want to mention the name, who was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He had a wife and 2 kids, and his family was from overseas, and his wife didn't speak good English. His wife didn't drive car. His wife didn't have a job. He was the sole income earner for the family, and they didn't have much of a community support in Tamworth. So when they came to hospital, we offered the family the contact for Multicultural Tamworth, who we partner with, and they reached out to Eddie. So since then, Eddie was involved in their support. And when the person passed away, the family was left with not much support in the community. And Eddie was there to help them through it. The wife didn't know how to drive. Eddie helped. Eddie and the Multicultural Tamworth helped that person get the driving license. They couldn't register the car. There was no power of attorney. There was no enduring guardianship. There was no will. So there was a lot of legal formalities that was left for the family who doesn't know English to look after. And Eddie literally held their hands and walked them through the process. And as I know, Eddie is still involved with that family, helping them, and they still live in Tamworth. Their visas were renewed. They got a job. The kids go to school, and they are settled in Tamworth. They live in Tamworth, and Eddie is still a very key part of their family. So Eddie has been that one person that people could call on if you need help. And as Eddie says, you got a problem, we could sort it out.
I think the biggest thing I've done for years that I feel proud about was when the migrants have been telling me they have to go to Sydney, Wollongong, Newcastle for the medical. They're here for 3 months, they're going to go for a medical in the city. And so I wrote to the Minister, Mr Giles, and I said to him, through Barnaby Joyce, I said to him, these people, you've put them under super pressure. Imagine, I'm talking about Australia, so right across Australia, from the north from Darwin to the top of Western Australia, top of Queensland, right down, you want people to go to a capital city just to get a medical, half an hour meeting. And so I wrote him a letter and I explained, if 20 people left the abattoirs here to go to Newcastle, that's 2 days each loss of work. The loss of work for the essential service. I talked about the hospitals, and in about a week, I got a letter back to say, we've abolished it. So that saved hundreds of thousands of migrants travelling. And that's not a little thing. That's an amazing thing. I didn't expect that sort of reply, but it did. So even though the immigration's not gracious, something out of the blue happened. And now the other side of that was the local doctors can do the medicals and the local medical centres can do the medicals right across, which means that employs more staff. And that's been a great thing.
Quite often, if a family comes to Tamworth or a new person moves to Tamworth, it doesn't matter where they're from, they could even, be from another state rather than another country. It can be quite lonely if you don't know people and you can't integrate and don't know how to, where to, or who to talk to try to integrate into the community. So that's one of the great strengths of Eddie and Barb, is the fact that they will integrate and welcome people, introduce them to different parts of the community. So, they'll meet with their culture, their people, and ultimately integrate, make them feel welcome. And if someone feels welcome and they've got a community that they can immerse themselves in, as well as get the services like job creation, education for their children is really important as well, and those health services, then it makes them feel welcome and, they feel loved and they want to stay, we love that.
Nowadays, we have this opportunity to move from Tamworth. There are more good job opportunity for both of us in other towns, big or small, doesn't matter. But even we cannot think about it. We don't want to think about it. Even with higher wages, higher income, no. Why? Eddie is here. Whitham's family are here. It's not easy to live people who really are look after you. It's not easy to stay away of the family that you believe they are beside you even when they are not there. Sometimes I think I'm sad, I'm happy, whatever. Based on my situation, I feel Eddie's here and I can put my head in his shoulder and think, even ask him to help me, even ask him for an advice. And he's always there. He has time, doesn't matter, it's 10 o'clock, 12 midnight, 4 early morning. Eddie's there. Just, I want to do this, Eddie, I need to do this in this time. Okay, come here for a cup of tea, and then we can do it. That's amazing.
He is one of reasons why we are still here. We had, again, so many chances to go, but they supported us from our start. So they said which schools are good, which neighborhood is good, where to move, where to find house. He assisted us with buying refrigerator, which brand to buy. With small things, with big things. So it makes immigrant life easier. And actually, you find yourself like you're around nice people, like you're almost around your family, you know. He's not our family, but we really think he's the closest person, like to the family circle that we actually really care about.
So we came to Tamworth because of our visa, but we stayed here because of Eddie and his family. So I think that was more effective than any other pushing visa for the migrants to stay in regional areas.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, in my opinion, that Tamworth is not just family-friendly, it's immigrant-friendly town. On the first place because of Eddie and Multicultural Tamworth.
I think in terms of where we are now, we're actually at a very good place where we've almost worked ourselves out of a job to a large degree, which is a good thing because it means that there are now enough momentum in a lot of the cultural community, parts of the community, and enough cohesion and networking that everyone who has decided to live and work and stay here has really become a part of the fabric of Tamworth.
Watching the town grow with all the things that are going on now, more announcements today about things, the town's going to keep growing. We're going to grow on the back of migrants.
Oh, look, I don't think any community can reach its potential without having the cultural diversity that I guess Eddie really had embedded into his vision. You know, as a society, we just can't grow to our potential without having that diverse views of things like religion, things like you know, basic cultures. You know, they all enrich the life of Australians, and I guess if we're really honest with ourselves, it's only 250 years or less that you know, we've all been immigrants to a very large degree. So you know, I think it really has enriched the city of Tamworth and helped make it the great place to live that it is today.
Well, back in the 60s, there were very, very few people from overseas in Tamworth. I think that's just probably similar to any other town or city in the country anyway. So today, as I said, there's over 102 nationalities in Tamworth, and I believe that to be very much a direct result of Eddie's work and Barbara's work over that time.
You know, there was lots of highlights, I guess, on that journey, and probably one of the main highlights was when Eddie came and saw me and talked about just a little community event that he was trying to kick off the ground, and that was called the Multicultural Tamworth Festival.
And it started many years ago. Eddie went to council, and council said, yeah, we need some funding for that. So out of Multicultural New South Wales, I managed to get some funding and some seed funding for, you know, what was a one-day event or over the weekend.
And that was the start of Fiesta, which was the turnaround time for Tamworth, I felt.
Well, the whole thing about Fiesta La Peel is that we want the ordinary people of the community, those who've been here for a long time, to mix with those who've been here a short time.
The event is held annually, and it's always traditionally held on the third Saturday in October. So it's a beautiful partnership between Tamworth Regional Council and Multicultural Tamworth.
You know, there is something in excess of 90 different nationalities that all come, and you know, they have their food, their dress and their culture, and it's just this fantastic, colourful extravaganza of beautiful food and culture, and everybody comes together, and there's immense goodwill. And Eddie, you know, started that, got that idea, and I think it's indicative of the way Eddie tries to bring people together
If you're looking to set your taste buds onto something a little different this weekend, Tamworth's Fiesta La Peel will be the perfect spot. It's a cultural fusion street party with something for the whole family.
It's Fiesta La Peel, a multicultural feast tomorrow evening on Peel Street.
Music, dance, and also a few exhibitions. There'll be things for the children.
The fiesta kicks off at 4 p.m. Peel Street will be closed to traffic between White and Fitzroy Streets from 6 a.m. tomorrow.
We've been telling people to come down, sit with a different family or a different group and be a part of it.
You know, where we might have started with like a few thousand people attending the event, you know, we can get up to 10,000 people, which, you know, the magnitude of that scale of people to come to this free community event is just a true testament of the community want Fiesta La Peel here.
Get ready to eat and dance your way through more than 40 countries without boarding a single plane. Tamworth's Fiesta La Peel is back again.
It's the celebration of cultural diversity. Tamworth's Fiesta La Peel is back for another year and settling into its new biggest space. 46 countries spilling out from Fitzroy Street and onto Cable Avenue.
With stalls spilling over into Bicentennial Park, there were 46 countries represented, crowds queuing for a taste.
And we tried cinnamon buns and it was quite good. Thai, curry.
And kebabs. Even though there's long lines, people are getting through pretty quick and really tasting all different cultures of food. It's wonderful.
On Saturday night, to see it absolutely chock-a-block with numbers that are, estimated to be upwards to 20,000 is just evidence that we can put on a multitude of different events.
It wasn't just food, there was shopping too, and a little music from the other side of the world.
Fiesta La Peel brings families and friends together in so many ways. Where it used to start, I guess, with the food, it's grown. The performances on the stage is something that just seems to be really, really popular with so many people, not just who's involved, but people that want to come to the event.
Tamworth's gearing up for its 9th Multicultural Festival, Fiesta La Peel. Excited locals are donning cultural gowns and preparing performances for the weekend.
Preparations are well underway as Tamworth gears up for its Fiesta La Peel, helped along by a $10,000 state government grant.
That's why we bought the Mexican dresses and other things for the people to cook with so they can be safe.
It's an event designed to attract many from across Eastern Australia, with cultural representation from Tamworth's 87 nationalities.
We've got people from Armidale, I know, people coming from the coast, people coming from Sydney and in the Central West because they're coming because they're relatives. They do it every year, and next year's big number 10, so we'll have some fun.
Was very good. We just performed one time. We just got ready for one song, and they wanted us to dance more, and we didn't prepare more. So then Juanita, she was organizing everything. She asked me if we could dance that again, like if we could perform that again. So we did. It was really good. It was very, very rewarding. And I felt happy to share this part of my culture, and they were, and obviously receiving that love, like that back from the people, from the audience, and all the people from Tamworth. It was really nice.
Fiesta La Peel has been running now for just over 10 years. So this year will be my 5th year working on the event really closely with Multicultural Tamworth.
And the last festival, a few months ago, it was probably the best we ever had. And everybody's talking about it, saying how good it was. And the thing was, the people stepped up themselves. We didn't have to go racing after people. We've helped those who needed help. But basically, most people said, we want her.
It has been one of those events where people have really owned that event, and even till now, people, for some reason, it feels like it is our event.
And the police Inspector Michael Moy came to keep an eye on things. He said, Eddie, I've never seen a happier crowd in my life. Now, what more could you say? And ever since then, every time we meet somebody, say, we thoroughly enjoyed it. We did this. Next year, we want to do this.
That was a great journey, and from very, very modest and humble beginnings, very quickly grew and became a monster.
Fiesta La Peel now is an event on the calendar that is iconic in terms of the multicultural aspect of what Tamworth has to offer.
He has made a huge impact and changed their mind and perspective into Tamworth community for immigrants and refugees, bringing all multicultural traditions, nationalities, languages, music, everything here. Yeah.
I feel that, Fiesta is Eddie's legacy. Fiesta is something that we are giving back to Eddie as a thank you for what he has done for this community. And to me, that's what Fiesta means.
He's special. He's special.
Now, the good thing is there's great harmony in the community.
My name is Mitra Ross, and I am from Afghanistan. I was born in a remote village in Afghanistan. In 2016, when I think I went back from Asian University to Afghanistan, and I was at International Dubai Airport. I was sitting there, and someone asked me, "Is it your passport?" And I was like, "What?" And he was 80. Eddie said, "Is it your passport?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, this is my passport. Where did you find it?" And he said, "Oh, you dropped it." I had a couple of hours transit, and also he had a couple of hours. And then we started, chatting and talking. I found him the most amazing human being on the earth, because it's really hard to find people, especially, in international Dubai airport, to, talk to and see that, wives, this amazing person talking to you. And then we exchanged email. He wanted to get me out of Afghanistan, but it was a really difficult process. In 2019, he tried. He was always in contact and, encouraging me to go for my goals and stuff. And in 2021, when the Taliban took over Afghanistan, then I had no other option than leaving the country, because I was a women's rights activist as well, and I was working with United Nations. And then beside that, I had my own organization by the name of Youth's Green Movement, where I was organizing conferences, workshops, anything related to harassment. And so Eddie was always in contact with me. I was like, "We have to get you out of there. You're in danger." And he tried all his resources to get me out of Afghanistan. When I got to the airport, do you remember the airport? If you saw the news, it was chaos. Taliban were shooting, foreigners were scared, they were also shooting. And we were in the I was in the middle of nowhere. So it was very scary. Me having no hope, there was time that I actually remained there for almost 5 days in the airport. I heard the news that they said they stopped evacuation. I was in the airport and said evacuation is stopped and they're not gonna evacuate anymore. And I remember my hand was shaking and I don't know how I wrote a message to Eddie and one of my colleagues and saying they're gonna stop evacuation. And he said, stay hopeful, don't lose hope. We're gonna get you out of there. These sentences from him that we're gonna get you out of there, I mean, he could or not, but he gave me the courage and the hope, you know, in the middle of no hope, you know. So he kept me going, actually. I got back my strength and I started breathing again, and yeah, he gave me hope. So I'm very, very thankful to Eddie. He's an amazing human being. He approached all his resources to get me out of Afghanistan. So fortunately, when I was evacuated, he gave me free accommodation for almost more than 2 months. He bought me jewelries, he bought me clothes, he bought me shoes, he bought me everything. And he was always saying, daughter, we will look after you. During spending time with him, I learned a lot of things from him. And I learned from him that, you know, we need to cherish the difference. We need to accept each other. We need to, love the diverse community. Doesn't matter you or belong to which religion or culture. We are one. Let's love each other. Let's get together. Let's celebrate each other's culture and differences. And yeah, I have never ever felt with him that I am a Muslim from a Muslim community or a different culture. He is such a welcoming and humble human being that never ever I felt that way. And I treated him like my father because he gave me that feeling. And yeah, he's my father. And I'm so proud that I call him father. And he's a great human being. Meeting Eddie is like, I would say, saving my life, probably. Yeah.
In my life, my mother was such a influence to me and taught me so much and was so gracious, and I was looking after the other kids as they grew up till I left home, and I just think I got stimulated.
The more I got to know his mum and the legacy that Esther left with him, she was very highly intelligent. A lot of his intelligence comes from her and her inspiration.
Mum always stopped and talked to people. If you know me, you walk down the street, they get embarrassed because I'm talking to everybody, I talk to babies. But doing that, you meet people and you get insights. And sometimes they'll say, oh, where are you from, what's that? And people talk. And it opens up a big way. Mum would always be talking, walking the street. But if she found somebody who was short or something, she'd find a way of getting it to them.
I think her love of reading is something that probably spilled over to Eddie, and learning and being interested in the world. I remember my mother sitting next to shortwave radio back then, where you could hear voices from everywhere, right, on these little radios. And my mother always listening to stories or different languages and so on. And she was a curious person, and Eddie is a curious person. And
but Mum, to me, was the epitome of a superwoman. A little woman, very small, had all these kids, was wise, looked after them all, and cared for them all. But the sad thing, as I said, Mum didn't last long after she got to Israel. Her mum and dad both passed away young. Her mum passed away not much after that, which meant we lost a good lady. And when I talk to people in Israel who know Mum, they were going, you know, she was a superwoman. And she knew how people worked and thought. I'm really proud of that. The saddest story I heard was related to me was in 1919, 102 of our family came to live in Palestine, part of the new Israel it'll be. Now, these people settled just above Tel Aviv, and as the years went on, they weren't making a go of it. They wanted to buy the land, but the Jewish National Fund, or whatever they call themselves at the time, were American, and they wouldn't sell the land. After a while, the grandfather told them, let's all go home. So in the early 30s, they returned to Poland and said, we'll do the negotiations from there. It never got done, and they all perished in the Holocaust. Mum escaped with her father and brother, Russia, from Poland in 1935. She was 13. They went to Israel, to Jerusalem. They didn't have any money. They were poor, really poor. They found places to live. The war came. Dad meets Mum in Jerusalem. Second day he's there.
His dad was a soldier in the army and met Esther in the war. But yes, she was a great inspiration, and as I said, a lot of Eddie's intelligence comes from her.
Yeah.
Many, many facets to Eddie that make up this interesting character.
He has perseverance, determination. He's honest in all his dealings. He has not benefited from any of these operations that he's been involved in personally, that's for sure. It's been for the benefit of other people at that time. He's a generous person. We don't know how much money, if you like, he would have given around, or the times that he has spent with other people, not just refugees, but other people. You find out from time to time that he's done this or been there, whatever, and you think, gee, he's on the move all the time.
The outstanding characteristics that Eddie really impressed me on was he wasn't an empire builder. He wasn't somebody that wanted to position himself on a pedestal. He didn't want to be famous. He didn't want to be anything other than a humble, good citizen that he knew what he was about. He knew what he wanted to achieve, and I think that's what made Eddie different to, I think, almost anybody that I know.
He's very strong and he doesn't show his emotions, but underneath it all, he can be a softie occasionally.
But a very positive person, you know, and good people like to be around him, I think, as well, because he exudes, you know, a lot of positivity and hope, you know, to people. So he's unique.
So Eddie has a lot of history, has a lot of colour and movement about him, and you know, it's always interesting when you're hanging around Eddie Whitham.
I guess the mark and measure of Eddie's legacy is the fact that so many people have been impacted, and he's given them a hand up in their life, and not just in a small way, but basically journey with them to a point where it's like, you know, not going to let your hand go until you can actually start to walk yourself, just like a child has a need. Coming alongside people is a very different thing than advocating from a distance or over the phone, or it's a completely different connection.
He was always there to help, and I think that hasn't changed. Like every time I see him, he's always asking, what can I do? And I'm just like, you've done enough. So I think that's really how you can sew up Eddie. Like, there's nothing too big that you can ask him, and you can only really say no, but you know, he won't say no.
You look up to him, you know, like a second dad, you know? So that's something like you have the trust to go, okay, I can go to you for something.
Yeah, you have a problem, you cannot find a solution for the problem, or you think that going through all the procedure to fix that problem is hard. Just call Eddie. Eddie, I have this issue. He has lawyers for you, he has GPs for you, he has whatever you need. He has someone that put your hand in their hand, then you feel, oh, that's fixed. And yeah, this is why I say Eddie is a spirit of, his spirit is helping. He's not human.
Eddie has been a friend, my best friend, I would say. Eddie has been like an elder brother. Eddie has been a dad. Eddie has been my mentor. That's what Eddie has been to me. Eddie has shaped me into the person that I am today.
First one is the sense of comfort. When I go to his house, I feel like I'm just like welcome there, and like points me where the toys are and all those things. Second thing is, I remember playing with these toys, and now that I think about it, those toys, other kids from other countries came and played with it, and like there's like markings of like blah 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 was here and all that. And the best thing and the best memory from Eddie is probably when he moves his false teeth around in like a funny way. It's just something that I will never forget about Eddie. It's just something that's funny, and I don't know, it's just cool for me.
And when my first son was born and he met him, it wasn't the standard, oh, you're going to have your hands full, or you're going to do this, or you're going to do that. I'm paraphrasing it, but he said along the lines, he didn't look at me, he didn't look at my partner, he just looked at Leo and said, welcome to the world. You are going to have an amazing life. This life is beautiful. Enjoy it. And I was just like, oh, how good. That's Eddie.
I'm so privileged to have known him and be with him for a long, long time, and I appreciate that.
It makes me feel quite proud to be a mate of Eddie Whitham. You know, I am very proud to call Eddie Whitham one of my close friends. You know, and that means a lot to me. Yeah.
Eddie, the greatest man in Tamworth, I would say in New South Wales, I would say in Australia.
His legacy will live on forever. There's no question about that. They'll always remember it. But his legacy is of many, many years, 4 decades, and this community owes him a lot for his efforts. You know.
Look, I don't think there'll ever be another Eddie Whitham. I just think for someone to devote their life in such a profound way with so much energy and so much passion and with such limited resources. I don't think we'll probably ever see another person quite like Eddie.
It's a great legacy that Eddie has created, where he has but he has encouraged those community groups, those different nationalities, to make this great city their own as well, make it their home and feel comfortable about coming out and expressing different cultures in a peaceful way, which is the way of the Australian way, is peace. And I think it's really important.
Yes, we do it because as they come individually or families or groups, right, let's get you going right so you can move on in your life, you can be a part of your community. Being a part of the community is the big thing. Having people get involved. This is Australia, getting involved. So that's it.
What inspired me to make this documentary was Eddie's selfless nature. In my life, I've never come across someone like him. Through all the challenges, the misunderstandings, and the hardships, Eddie never stopped caring. He always welcomed people with open arms, a big smile, and a cup of tea. To Eddie, everyone was equal and everyone belonged. In a time when our world feels more divided than ever, Eddie has shown me, and all of us, that true change does not come from power or privilege. It comes from compassion, from seeing others not as strangers, but as neighbors. Eddie's legacy lives on in the lives he's touched, the families he's embraced, and the community he helped build. My hope is that his story will inspire many others, as it has inspired me, to step forward, to care, and to keep building a world where every culture is cherished and where everyone belongs.